Have you ever wondered why Ness is always wearing giant shorts? Seriously, these things are massive. And no matter what version of Ness you're looking at, whether it's the Super Smash Bros. Model, or the original artwork, or even the Smash Bros. Art, he's always wearing these giant pants. Why is he wearing oversized pants? Are they his dad's? Did he lose a lot of weight on his journey? Wait, I think that's it. Earthbound, definitely a game everyone should go play, one of my favorite games of all time, and a game that has cemented itself in gaming culture. If you aren't familiar with Earthbound, let me give you a quick rundown. You play as a kid named Ness who is destined to save the universe from the form of ultimate evil, Geigism. On the way, you learn psychic powers and reach 8 different sacred locations. By recording each of their melodies into the sound stone, you become more attuned with your psychic powers. In this game, you fight against things like gang leaders, cultists, zombies, tents, robots from the future. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens. Partnering yourself up with 3 other kids, you team up and beat Geigus in the power of friendship. Ness eventually found his way into the Super Smash Bros. Franchise with a bunch of Earthbound-related stages. Now, if you played a game here, you probably thought that having a giant sign that says drugstore was a bit weird, but in Earthbound, almost next to every drugstore is a hamburger restaurant, and that got me thinking. Is Ness eating too much burgers? And how much walking should he be doing in order to work off all the weight he's gaining? Well, I did the math. We just need to find out 5 numbers. 1, how big is Ness? That gives us 2, how big is this world? Then we can get how many burgers does Ness eating, which tells us how many calories does Ness need to burn. And then finally, how much should Ness be walking? Let's start with number 1. Ness is a 12 or 13-year-old depending on the version of the game you're playing. So right there in the middle of the ages average is 5 feet. Which is a nice perfect whole number we can use for our calculations. Easy peasy. Now we can use our in-game screenshots with that number to calculate 2. How big is this world? Now the map of Earthbound is actually on a different scale than the sub-areas. When you're outside the house, it's a bit small, but when you go in, it's much bigger. If you've ever played a game like The Adventure of Link or Dragon Quest, you understand what I'm talking about. We need to figure out the scale from Ness's real height to the real world, and figure out how many times bigger Ness is being represented on screen. Measuring Ness up to the front side of the house, we can use pixel measurements to compute the height of the roof. It's 5 Nesses plus 150 pixels, so to determine the pixel amount, we divide 310, which is Ness's pixel amount, by 60, Ness's height, and we get 5.16 repeating. This is our inches per pixel amount. So by combining the full height of 5.5 Nesses, that gives us a total of 27.5 feet? That's crazy! If the average roof is between 8 to 10 feet, we are more than tripling that number. That just throws all logic out the window. So I had to recalculate. This time, I tried measuring the height of the roof based on the back wall. This time, it's 3 groups of 5 feet tall. So a 15-foot tall roof, which is still really high, but a lot more believable for a house where the door is half the size of the room. Going back out, man. Well, because there's no clear way to figure out where the second floor starts on the outside of the house, we're going to have to go back inside and then calculate the full height of the door. So 310 pixels divided by 60 inches gives us 5.16, which we already had. So the door is 530 pixels. 530 divided by 5.16 repeating is 102.5 inches, or just above 8.5 feet. It turns out that the scale factor for the world is twice as big as the scale factor for the sub-area. We can prove this with the first image, how 8.5 divided by 530 pixels is 0.016 feet a pixel, which is our scale factor for the sub-area, and the second image, which is 8.5 feet divided by 260 pixels, which is 0.033 feet a pixel. That's double the entire scale factor for the first sub-area. So we figured out number 1 and 2. 1, how big is Ness, and 2, how big is this world that he's living in. Now, all we gotta do now is calculate the burger side of the numbers. And, frankly, this is the easiest section so far. The Earthbound wiki states that a burger heals 50 HP. Simple enough. So, we can figure out how many burgers Ness is chomping, based on Ness's max amount of HP, which is 924, divided by 50, which is the amount that a burger heals. But we have to take 1 away from the max HP, because then Ness isn't alive. So, 923 divided by 50 is 18.5 burgers, but we'll just round to 19. Ness is able to eat a maximum of 19 burgers. If one single patty burger is about 259 calories, 19 times 259 is 4,921. Now that we have the amount of calories, we need to calculate how much exercise Ness should be getting to work off 4,921 calories. Using Ness's previously established height of 5 feet, we can use him to measure the entirety of the Earthbound map. Now, scaling Ness's 5 feet, we can use that to count the whole city. By taking out the map of the image, we get this jumble of boxes. Adding that together is 361 that we multiply by 10, and then we get 3,610 feet. A mile is 5,820 feet, so a whole walk around Forside is 0.6 miles. Ness, being a 12 or 13-year-old boy, should be about 120 pounds. A calorie burning calculator should say that running moderately would burn him about 590 calories an hour. Now, if 0.6 miles is one Forside lap and 8.3 miles is the full workout, 8.3 divided by 0.6 is 13.83 Forside laps. Now, due to the amount of walking in the game and how hamburgers are only used for the beginning, it does check out how Ness would be losing weight over time on his journey, and that he would be losing an extreme amount of it too. So that's how Ness probably got such oversized pants. And, that does check out with in-game dialogue near the beginning and end of the game. So it makes sense that he ended up losing a lot of weight at the end of the game. Well, anyways, Ninja Nerd out, Smoke Bomb.